Larry and I were just talking about how much money you can make in YouTube. And I think we did some math, and you know how good Larry is at analyzing these things. And between us, I think we figured out that if I live to be about 102, I might actually make significant money as a
I think we said 112, but okay.
112. That was, yeah, 102, 112. All right, let's see. Well, okay, Larry, Merry Christmas, by the way, as we
And to you and to everybody. I
and
mean, this
Happy
is a
Hanukkah is past, right?
great, great season. No, no, we're in the midst.
Oh,
In the
you're in the
midst.
midst. So
It's
how
12
many,
days.
12 days? How many,
And
how many?
we're on five. Um, I have to check with my wife. She keeps score.
Keeps the score. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, I wasn't paying any attention to when it started this year. Interesting. It's what do you call it? At the same time as Christmas this year.
The Jewish calendar varies
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we didn't organize our calendar. We still stick to the 6,000
Yeah.
year old calendar,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. It's all good.
almost 6,000 years. Yeah.
All right. Well, you said, Larry, that you have been out driving around with 13.2.2 on which vehicle?
On the Cybertruck.
On the Cybertruck. Well,
Yeah,
talk.
I'm actually waiting for version 13 on my X.
Okay.
You know, we changed my wife's car, my wife's old 2021, 3. We changed it for a new 3. By the way, that's a wonderful car.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay.
Okay. So it's still at 12.5.6.
Okay.
Excuse me. The only car I have on 13 right now is the Cybertruck.
Okay. All right.
X hasn't been updated, which I hope it does because it looks to me like there's going to be a launch of IFT-7, the seventh launch of the Starship on the 10th of January.
Okay.
And if so, I'm going to drive down there.
Yeah.
If I drive down there, I can't take the Cybertruck because it's going in for service.
Oh.
And I, I don't want to lose that service date. And the other thing is, they're going to do quite a lot on the truck, and I don't want to lose that up.
Right.
I mean, they're actually changing out some important equipment. The truck's driving fine, but it's an update, so I don't want to lose my place in the line. So I'll have to take the X. So I'm hoping I'll have the version 13 for the X.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful car.
I suspect you will. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't sell that car, and I'll tell you why I can't sell that car.
Yeah.
Because I think we're on the verge of Robotaxi.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I can earn between $50,000 and $100,000 a year on that car. And in doing so, really get an insight into what's going on in the Robotaxi business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing is it turns out to be very useful when friends, family, company come over, I give them the car. So anyway, bottom line is went out with 13.2.2 or 13.3. I forget the latest. 13.2.2.
Yeah. And
it's excellent. It is excellent. I mean, human-like I've heard that description several times.
Right.
And I thought, the previous version, 13.2.1, was pretty good. 13.2.2 adds a level of sophistication. So I could describe it in detail because I actually have the map absolutely down. As you know, I have these standard patterns or standard maps that I do, or standard journeys that I do. All of them to exercise trying to get out of our development.
Yes.
Because we have complex exits in various directions. Some are country roads, some are urban roads, and some are freeways. But it doesn't ace them all. There's one that it does a little fault on that is actually a safety. It's kind of a safety critical thing that could get it into trouble. It's not, it's a matter of lanes.
Mm.
It chooses a lane which is actually an oncoming turning lane,
Yes, yes.
which it shouldn't do, but okay. And there's this pedestrian crossing that I've described very often
Yes.
on this country road. But other than that, it is incredibly lifelike, human-like, as I think I've heard it described, and I agree with it. And so I just get a sense that we're so close. Now, so close can also take a year or 2 years.
Right, right.
You know, we've been through this before, but the car really drives well. I mean, it drives beautifully. So much so that, you know, we were coming home the other night from dinner and my wife was in a car with me and we were watching this car doing these very elegant moves. And I said to her, you know, I think it's ready for you to drive. She said, yeah, I agree.
Mm.
So we're going to start very shortly on her 3, you know, getting her comfortable doing the
Full self-driving. Yeah, yeah.
you know, the take over, let the car drive for
Right,
her.
right, right, right.
And you know, it feels so human-like. I mean, it's truly amazing. Car is, I'm very happy with where we are.
So with 𝐑𝐚𝐬𝐲, did you happen to watch the
I
𝐑𝐚𝐲?
did watch. I'm about three-quarters way through, and you know, he does a lot of financial analysis based upon the study that he did in Chicago that he spoke about some time earlier this year. You know, before his wife went through her. You know, she's had these problems, and so he's been off the record for a while. Um, you know, James Dowmer is really, of us all, I would say, the most analytical when it comes to technical and the application of the technical to the practical and to the commercial. So he does a fantastic job of analyzing not only the technology, but also the application of the technology commercially.
Right.
And I'm aligned with him 100%, 100%. I think, and that's why I'm keeping the X. I think that within a year or so, I'll be able to put that X out to work. Not because I, you know,
I
really,
know you. I know you're worried about the rent, Larry. I know.
yeah. But I'm very fascinated to see how it plays out from a commercial perspective.
Sure. And was there anything in particular that James said? I know, you may not remember right now, but were there things in particular that stood out to you?
Yeah, I can tell you what I disagreed with.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know, Hans asked him whether he thought that Tesla would do maps.
Ah,
And he talked at length about the possibility of using maps as a crutch
yeah.
on edge cases.
Mhm.
I don't agree with that.
Mhm, mhm,
I
mhm.
think the level of complexity and not only the level of complexity, but the breaking of the paradigm. You know, when you approach a particular way of coding, you want it to be generalized and standardized. You really don't want to change modes in the
Mhm,
middle. I mean,
mhm.
it's very, very difficult. I don't think they're going to use maps. I really don't see Tesla going into the map making business. There's no value add.
Mhm, mhm.
There's no business model there. I don't see, you know, Google makes money out of the ads that accompany all the use
Right,
of maps.
right.
Tesla's never going to be in the ad earning business. Never, ever. So does it add sufficient that they will bring in extra income or that will enable their income on their full self-driving? I don't think so.
Mhm, mhm.
But so, you know, there's this minor disagreement I have with him. But other than that, I thought the analysis was very good. He's kind of he doesn't underestimate the size of the market, but he doesn't. I mean, he didn't actually tell us the size of the market. If you go by his numbers, the size of the US market is in the staggering levels of trillions. I mean,
Well, he said it was 25 million vehicles
yeah,
for the
I mean,
US, for the US alone, 25 million
yeah,
vehicles.
and doing what, 20,000 miles a year,
If they made,
20,000 times 20, I mean, times two, times $1 or
yeah,
$2.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're getting into these ridiculous levels of numbers.
So the thing, of course, that I was most interested in of all is this whole business of the vehicle speaking to the occupants and vice versa.
Yeah,
And James certainly hit exactly what I've been saying all along, which is
yeah,
you're not going to need any kind of additional helpers or ways of interfacing with the vehicle uh,
yeah.
because you'll
You
talk
just tell it what you want it to do, and it'll do it.
and it'll talk back to you and tell you,
Yeah,
sorry, I can't do that, or
yeah.
try again.
Don't take this right turn, please, Mr. Vehicle. Please don't take this right turn. Go straight and take the next one because blah blah blah.
Right.
Okay. Yes, sir. No, sir. And, I can't do that because of so and so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was a really simple, straightforward answer to this question that everybody seems to be worried about. I've never seen the concern.
Well, they did. You can use like this device that they have, this, TV, this remote control type
Yeah, yeah.
device to drive the car. That's what they're using right now. If they need to if they need to park the car or whatever. So there is that, and there'll be a voice command to replace it. So yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was useful. Okay, so I'm going to throw out an idea that I just came up with today. In fact, I'm even, well, okay. So it occurred to me that there might be a three-step process between now and full-on robotaxi that would help Tesla to get lots of data as it went along. So the three steps would be, number one, you would have uh, instead of having 3 seconds that you can look at the screen or look at your at your text like it is now, I mean, it starts bleeping that blue light at you almost immediately. You would have maybe 15 seconds or 20 seconds to be
Yeah.
able to look away, look at the scenery, look at your whoever's riding next to you.
Yeah, they'd relax the time limits on the view. Yeah.
Right. And then they would maybe take a month of that to just get the data. What happens if the person has that kind of time to look away? They might even increase it over the course of the month, but kind of a step towards the unsupervised. Then the second step would be you still have to keep your butt in the seat, but you can do whatever you want. You never have to look at the screen unless it starts, going blue on you or putting the red hands up or something. But it's almost like what they call level 4, where you're there, but you are totally able to do whatever you want to unless you're called away. Then the next step would be unsupervised. And at each level, they would get data, lots of data about how the car operates with that level of lack of supervision from just a normal driver.
I yeah, I read your piece on that. It's possible. Did you read about the cannonball run that they did on FSD 12.5, 12.6 or whatever?
The Cannonball Run. I don't.
Yeah, 12.5.6.4. So you know what the cannonball run is?
I know. Yeah, yeah.
Cannonball Run is, Los
Coast.
Angeles, New York.
Yeah.
Um, so I would highly commend, and I hope you put the link in below. Alex Roy 144, Alex Roy did a cannonball run on FSD.
Huh.
Now here is really underlying this is really the route to the road to FSD to
Unsupervised.
unsupervised. He took the car all the way across, and and he posted a long analysis of it and his results, and he also gave the history of the Cannonball Run.
Mhm.
And the Cannonball Run goes right back
Sure,
to
sure,
the
sure.
early days of the vehicle. Anyway, he gave his engagement and his unengagement. So the only time he unengaged was for safety purposes and or for supercharging.
Okay.
The Cannonball Run requires them to go end to end nonstop,
Right.
other than to charge.
Right.
And his engagement rate was 98.7%. He had 32 disengagements from coast to coast, 21 for charging, 11 for non-charging, 11 disengagements for non-charging,
Right.
of which involuntary were 2, safety related were 7,
Mm.
and voluntary navigation related were 2.
Mm.
So, if you boil that right down, he had really 9 disengagements in 3,500 miles
Right.
coast to coast.
Right. Right.
So he's going to be doing that in 13.2 now.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah. So what he's going to do is he's going to track that.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to do this, maybe they'll relax the amount of seconds they give you to take the, but once you give people the right to take their eyes off the road for more than 3 seconds, you're functionally saying,
Yeah.
we're off. So I
Yeah.
don't see the difference why they should relax a little bit and not relax completely.
I see. Okay.
But I think that the way to track where we are is this Cannonball Run is very, very, very important.
Yeah.
And when we're at the 98.7, we are so close, we're getting there. They had safety-related engagements with 7
Yeah.
out of in 3,500 miles.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 1 every 500 miles.
Right. Yeah.
So if we get from there to double that and double that again, we're there. We're at the point where, I think it's ready to go.
Interesting. All right.
So we should put the link to that.
Yeah, just if we remember, text that over to me and I'll put it.
Yeah, I will.
Gary Black and Dan Ives had a little debate the other day. I'm sure you watched that. That was quite
that was fun, wasn't it? Yeah.
What did you take away from that conversation?
Gary Black does analysis. All these people that have these funds where they sell their winners are losers. I hate to say that in such blunt terms, but and they have a role to play in the investment community, and people who are very, very, very risk sensitive and want their hands off and want experts to look after their money. They put money with these people, and these people protect their money. And also, really, I don't think they maximize their potential.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you sell your winners, you are functionally featuring your losers.
Right.
You're favoring your losers.
Yeah.
Why would you favor your losers? Why would you not favor your winners?
The analogy, Larry, I think in business is that managers tend to spend an inordinate amount of time trying to get their worst employees to be up to average rather than spending time with their best employees to get them even better.
Randy, it's worse than that.
It's worse than that.
It's managers spending their time trying to get their worst products better instead of focusing on their good products. Figure it out. I mean, guys, famously, on the All In podcast, David Sachs says, in that opening riff that they've got, let your winners ride.
Yes.
Guys, let your winners ride. But Gary, but, so the difference between institutional money managers and guys who really understand what the opportunities are. And, look, if you take a guy like Dan Ives and you look at the 5, 6, 7 top of his top investments,
Right.
one or two or three of them are going to fail.
Yeah.
But the other two or three or four are going to, they're going to obliterate Gary.
Yeah. 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 So my takeaway, Larry, you may have read this too. I put it up in detail, is that and it was kind of an epiphany for me, is the matter of imagination. And it was like, if you if you can't imagine what's going to happen with robotaxis, you have to be able to think ahead, think about the world, think about how Larry might do it, how Randy might do it, how Brian might do it, how each of these, you got to be thinking about all those individuals out there, the kind of groupings of individuals, some who will be early adopters and some who will jump on later, and some who
Right.
will turn it into a business and some who will never turn it into a business. And what does that really mean downstream? Almost like James Dalma was talking about. And sometimes those with the greatest imaginations are way over their skis in terms of it's never going to turn out that way. They're way too optimistic. I don't
Right.
think Elon Musk or Randy Kirk that are always way out there in terms of their optimism. But if you don't have any imagination at all, then you say, well, no, I think only 12 people are going to turn these things into a business. And you're like, and it won't happen until the year 2070. I mean, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a great fan of Dan Ives.
Oh, yeah.
And, even though I'm a fan of Dan Ives, I differ from Dan.
Sure.
He's
Sure.
a very big Apple guy. I think Apple's best days are behind it. I really do.
Uh-huh.
I think we're witnessing the end of an era with Apple. But in general, he has been a great stalwart on Nvidia. He's been a great stalwart on Tesla. He's been a great stalwart on Apple. And if you take those three counters alone, never mind the other counters, but he's very hot on, he's done incredibly well for his customers.
Right. Right. Yes. All right. Changing subjects. You have this new Model 3. We just discussed that a minute ago.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'd like to get your opinion on the Model 3, and then I want to talk about another idea I've been putting forward the last 2 days. So go ahead.
I have to say that this is the best car. This is the best Tesla in terms of fit, finish, and, just ride. I mean, it's not in the same category or class as the Cybertruck.
Right.
It doesn't cost $100,000 or
Right.
$70,000. It is a modest $40,000 car, $45,000 car. It is a beautiful car, beautifully finished. It has a dream ride. It is faultless in every respect. There's no wind noise. There's no road noise. The ride is beautiful, and the inside is beautifully finished. It's not
Right.
German,
Right. Yes.
luxury car finish, but it's beautifully finished. My wife loves it, and she was a reluctant Tesla customer
Uh-huh.
in the first round, but she really loves this car, and it's a beautifully made car. My brother, who has a Model Y, saw it. I wasn't there. My wife took it over, but he fell in love. He's going to buy one.
Okay.
It's a beautiful car. It's a beautiful car, and the FSD on that car is really good. I mean, it's only 12 dot whatever,
Five.
the latest
Right.
12, but it's very, 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 very good. Very good.
Yeah. All right. So I did a poll, and my suggestion in this poll was
Mhm.
that lots of Model Y owners will want to trade in their current Model Y.
Well, my brother's one of them. You're not wrong. You're right on target.
Because it's so good. And you
Yeah.
drove the old Model 3 and you know what its shortfalls were.
Yeah.
We have a 2021 Model Y. We know what the shortfalls are. I've always said the biggest thing has just been the rough ride. It's kind of a
Yeah.
sports car ride as opposed to a luxury ride. But it's got a couple other little things here and there that are just
Yeah.
cured by the Model
Yeah.
3 upgrade.
You've
So
ridden it, right? You've driven it.
I have not yet. I just know from
Oh,
the
you should.
description,
Should,
just by
yeah.
the description. Yeah, just by
Yeah,
what.
my brother's got a relatively new Model Y.
Yeah.
I think 20, I don't want to say 22, but man, he fell in love with this car. Yeah.
So then there's going to be the second thing. There's going to be those who've been waiting. So I've talked about this since last January. People that were going to buy a
Yeah.
Model Y have just said, forget about it. I'm going to wait for this thing. So that's going to be some demand. Then there's people that are just getting into the market for an electric car or for a Tesla, or they've been thinking about it, but they get into the market and they test this thing for the first time. And then there's the people who are waiting for FSD, or not waiting for FSD, but who will test FSD. I talked to one of the clerks at one of the showrooms for testing.
Mhm.
And he talks about what happens when people go out and take the test drives, because it's not like taking a test drive in any other vehicle. You're like, okay, stop paying. You don't have to drive anymore. Just push this and we'll go. Um, I'm thinking, Larry, again, the Randy Kirk optimism, whatever, but I think they're going to sell out a Model Y for a very long time. I think it's going to be a huge hit.
So, when do you believe the new the Model Y refresh is going to come out?
Well, China almost certainly next week. I mean, the first or second or third of January, there's reports that the old Model Y is sold out. They don't have anymore. And they've been making the other ones. They're apparently already sitting in auto trailers. They're ready to start sending them out to the delivery centers. So that's happening right away. The Los Angeles, I mean, I'm sorry, the California or the
Why are there no why are there no pictures then of the new Model Y?
Well, there's pictures in California and in China of the camouflage ones. Yeah, lots
Okay.
of them. Lots of them. Yeah, lots of them. Yeah. And California, I'm going to guess it'll be maybe a month behind, but I maybe
No, last time it was like 8 months behind.
I don't think it's so this time. I don't think it's going to be that far behind.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
What do you think the statement that they're sold out of Model Y? What do you think they didn't say they sold out of Model Y. They said they're sold out.
Totally.
Yeah, that's what they
All
said.
vehicles.
All vehicles, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I wonder what their sales are for the last 3 weeks.
Wow. Interesting.
Month.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. It's almost time to find out. It will be only a few more hours. We'll hear what
Yeah,
last week was. That's interesting. I thought it was just the Ys. Okay, all of them. Wow.
they said they sold out.
Wow. Well, they got to be making more threes. So Homo sold out.
No, they sold
They
out of
still
threes
deliver.
and they sold
So
out of Ys.
they got to deliver them. They've sold them, but they just haven't.
Yeah. But I mean, they've sold out. Sold out could be 22,000, 21,000, 22,000 a week.
Could be. Yeah.
3 weeks, it's 66,000. I mean, they could be at the 500. I mean, this could put them over the 500 mark, and I don't know how much higher that they can get. I've got to come up with my numbers, and I've been trying to figure out I
I,
mean, my methodology is so broken.
yeah. I was going to ask you that later, but apparently I'll leave that question for next week. All right. So then I got thinking about Europe. And everybody's talking about Europe's going to be down 60,000 or 50 or 40, whatever it is, vehicles compared to last year. I wonder how much of that is people waiting for Juniper. Because, everybody wants to put
I
it
think
on.
they're waiting for the so-called Tesla Q. I think,
Oh, you think they're waiting for the queue?
yeah, I don't think, at the end of the day, Model Y and Model 3 are selling at their maximum rate for Europe. I say maximum rate, that's maximum without any additional
Yes. Mhm.
incentives.
Mhm.
Europe very seldom buys cars of that size. It's a big car for Europe, the three
Mhm.
or the Y.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are big cars for Europe. The volume in Europe is in the smaller vehicles.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's not even a price issue.
Right.
It's not a price issue.
Yeah.
It's just, there's just no
Style.
space in Europe.
Well, and style probably, what people are used to.
It's not so much style, it's just space
I see.
and cost of operation. Europe is slowly sinking into a third world state. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. They're slowly sinking into a third world state.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a third world. I would say they're not maintaining their first world status.
Yeah. Yeah. Like our friends to the north in Canada, their GDP.
Just look at their GDP per head of population. It's actually declined,
Yeah.
literally declined.
Yeah.
I can't remember a period of time in Canada where their GDP, maybe the oil shock. I don't remember, but I can't remember a time where it's declined like this.
We were just in Canada, for our vacation,
Right,
and
right.
we were, going out to dinner, a dinner that would cost $150, $160 in California. It was $95. And I'm like, how can that even be? It's like it used to be parity. In fact, they used to, their dollar,
It was parity, yeah.
and for a while they were higher. Their dollar was more than ours.
Well, only a little bit, but for the most of my time in the United States, which is now 42 years, they were about 10% below. We used to kid when our Canadian sales came in. They'd come in with a big number, and then we say, "Yeah, but that's Canadian
Canadian
dollars. It's
dollars.
in Canadian." And when somebody's, when we were doing budgets, we'd always say, "Yeah, but that's Canadian,"
Right, right.
because it's like 10%
Yeah,
differential.
yeah.
Now it's like ridiculous.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Well, okay, so you don't think the Juniper, well, so you think the Model Q, whatever we're going to call it, is what will really get sales going again in Europe.
Yes.
Do you think there's any chance that they'll release it first in Europe if that's the case?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, I think it's going to be released first in China. I mean, China or the US. It's possible that it's Austin.
Yeah.
Look, Austin has the capacity, Austin has the space, and we have US demand. So maybe it'll be here first. I hope that it'll be sped up in Europe and in China, because I think it'll do well in China. I think we're probably 2 years behind where we should be in terms of developing this product.
Yeah. Okay. And so, but we're not going to say, "Oh, Elon, you did it wrong," right? We're just going to say
Oh,
it was.
I've said Elon did it wrong.
I'm, for my side, I'm just gonna say, that it could have been that way.
Look, the man is not perfection.
Right.
He has, he sometimes makes ill-conceived moves. He's the first to admit it.
Sure.
Um, I think that we should have had this car some time ago. I don't disagree with him that we had to put FSD at the highest priority, and that was the principal focus of the company. I don't disagree with the focus on the bot. I don't disagree with the focus on, AI, but I think that we have been dilatory in developing this model.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Yeah. Um,
And the Robotaxi, it's not early, it's not late, it's timely because of
yeah.
where we are with FSD development. So
Yeah.
I think that the one gap in our product line is that affordable
Hmm.
lower end product. And it's not going to be that much lower.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe 10 grand, maybe.
I think we'll be lucky to get it down 10 grand.
Okay. All right. So you don't have a number for me for the 2nd of January, but can we talk a little bit? Have you even thought about,
I will say it's going to be more than 500,000.
okay, more than 500 and hopefully 515? And does it matter?
No, I don't think it matters. I think it may impact the share price for a short period of time, but I don't think it matters.
Right. Okay. So how about the margins, Larry? That's always the other thing everybody wants to talk about. Brian Wong said to me the other day, he says, look, I think the margins are going to be over 20%. And I went, I went, what? So then I went,
Okay, I think he's
started,
wrong. I think he's
okay.
wrong.
I started, yeah,
I think he's wrong on two counts. The
okay.
first count and the most important count is I think we have a lot of unbudgeted expenses in the Cybertruck um, replacement work, lot of replacements, and whether that can come out of the warranty,
Hmm.
probably will come out of warranty, but we'll step up our warranty
Hmm.
contribution. I wish they would use the fat that's in there, but I don't think they will.
Hmm.
So I think that there's a lot of warranty repairs. You know, I have to take it in for my inverter replacement. That's the scheduled.
Right.
The car's given me no trouble at all. It's
Right.
been a
Right.
dream, but they've got to replace the inverter.
Right.
Um, so I think that I don't see the margins being goosed this quarter.
Well, you have
This-
the number one way that you're going to goose them is you go from 300, I mean, 480,000 or whatever the number was, 384,000 to 480,000 to 500 and let's say 15,000. So just by that kind of increase in total numbers, you get a
Yeah.
pretty good bump from that.
I don't think you get much of a bump from a 7% increase, though.
Okay, then you get the what Lutz calls the 2% per quarter, where they're always you know, incremental improvements. He says it works out on average at 2% per quarter. So that's some percentage is probably going to be in there for incremental improvements.
Um, there's been some price compression this quarter, continuing price compression. It's not quite as bad as the previous quarter, and it's not anywhere as bad as the quarter before that, the last quarter, the first quarter of this year. But there has been a price compression, so I'm not aligned with him. I think we are definitely going to see a tough margin period. Maybe we'll see a slight improvement, but if we do, it's going to be marginal.
So to speak. So, all right, the other things that so I went back and looked at my numbers because I was trying to figure it out. The other thing is that we're probably going to see some benefit on the battery side as they ramp the 4680. And you're going to see some benefit on the Cybertruck because the ramp is continuing. So it is going to have less of a margin impact, if you will. It's going to be contributing, it's going to be not taking away from margins as much as it was last quarter. It'll be contributing
Yeah,
additional.
there's relative strength to be gained from both increase in Cybertruck sales, not quite as the increase I'd hoped or
Right.
sought, but there is an increase in sales, relatively marginal increase. There is a reduction in material costs, and I've already done the but piece of that, and that's the warranty piece of that.
Yeah.
Um, so I think we continue to see some margin from the Cybertruck, but not much of a growth of margin.
And then we have the IRA money coming in from the 4680s, which will increase as well.
Yeah, but that money came in the previous quarter as well,
Oh,
and
but it'll be
so
more.
marginally more. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't really have a number on that. Do you have any feelings about the fact that they're starting to put in the next four the actual 4680 lines now?
Yeah, we won't see benefit from that line until I would say um, mid first quarter or even second quarter.
So, but do you think it means they're getting very close to having
Yes.
okay. So we could be fairly dramatically up on the amount of 4680s that we're making.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
But I mean, we have to sell those in product, right?
right. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so I just feel like if you take all of those, and I think I'm forgetting one, if you take all those into consideration, yes, there's some set asides, maybe in terms of the number of cars sold with 0% financing, maybe in terms of some of the other kinds of discounts that have been given. But overall, there's a lot of possibilities on the win behind us side, as opposed to the number. Anyway, it seems to me there's a
Well, you're a glass half full guy. I'm kind of a glass half empty guy.
But where does Brian Wong fit in? Oh yeah, he's also a big optimist. That's true.
I mean, he's a glass overflowing kind of guy.
So, how are you thinking about Doge these days? I know you've been working on this analysis that you were going to do. I know medical is the number one place you think.
Healthcare is the big thing,
Right.
and I have a gentleman whom I have a high regard for in healthcare cost analysis, and I'm doing a an interview of him early in the year, and then we're going to do a deep dive into healthcare costs and the really serious um, problems in our healthcare structure, and how some of those problems can be solved.
Mhm.
I hope Elon listens to it because this guy really understands it very well. He's Dutch Rojas. I've been following him for some time. Met him at the All In conference a year
Oh.
ago.
Hmm.
Um, very, very high on him. And so I'm very excited about his analysis. I think it will be important. By the way, I'm very excited about Elon's intervention in this latest, in the fracas of the last week, where he disrupted the continuing resolution and the change in the debt ceiling,
Yes.
because he definitely reduced the total commitment to US government expenditure by $600 billion, which is not nothing. So we're already seeing the impact
Yeah.
of him at Doge and
Yeah.
how influential he is. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, me too. I was very excited about it. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a fun year. I don't know if it'll turn out to be a great year. I think it will, but man, it's going to be a fun year.
Yeah.
So were there any, Larry, on the healthcare, were there any uh, teasers you could give us in terms of like a something that we may not know where there's a big bunch of money that could be easily extracted?
There are so many practices that are bad,
Oh, okay.
and a lot of them turn around healthcare insurance.
Hmm.
That's just an absolute waste of money, an absolute waste of money for the employer and the employee. Um, then there's also medical practices. There's also the monopolist practices of these gigantic hospital institutions and how they are squeezing the doctors out of private practice and how that's really detrimental to our healthcare. There are a lot of factors. There are a lot of factors. It's not one magic bullet.
Right.
There are many, many, many bullets, each of which could have a magical impact.
I see.
But taken all together, well, famously, JP Morgan Chase and Amazon joined forces to try and revolutionize healthcare in this country, and that fell apart.
Right.
This guy really has got his finger on the pulse. He really understands it, and there's really practical things that can be done.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll be waiting for that. That'll be extremely fun to watch. And what about, let's see how much time we have. Yeah. Okay. What about any other besides healthcare? Is there any other part of the system that you've uncovered yet that we should be looking at?
Well, in terms of saving money, one of the most important elements are really what Elon tried to tackle in this package. And that is these grants, these, scratch my back and I'll scratch your back
Yeah.
kind of grants, where grants are given to people or organizations within a congressman's district, and then that congressman will grant that favors. These favors that go between states, they tend to up the ante, continuously up the ante, and this is what is pumping the budget full of complete nonsense. I mean, we saw some of that nonsense that Elon listed, and I think it's worth doing an analysis of every line item. Just what is this line item and what was promised in the original budget, what was finally given. There's a $600 billion differential. Doesn't mean to say we won't end up having to spend that $600, because those people who got those line items, those congressmen who got they're going to still be after that money in subsequent bills. But there's $600 billion that we staved off. And that's out of $1.9 billion. It's like a third of the total, almost 30% of the total that was in that terrible bill. Well, that just gives you a sense of the kind of money that could be saved.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very, very positive about what Elon is doing here.
All right. The other thing on the what we call the governmental front that will have an impact on business, and that's what we try to do here on the channel, is if we talk about this kind of stuff, we want it to impact Tesla or impact the general economy. Trump seems to be starting a bunch of prairie fires.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The chaos has begun.
The chaos has begun.
And it seems like these folks, it would seem like the Panama guy and the Greenland guy and it would seem like all of these guys would know exactly what Trump's up to. I mean, it's not like he hasn't played this game before, but I feel like they're all just so insular or so involved in their own little kingdom that they're not getting the fact that he's going to come in here and make this gigantic demand, which probably in most cases is very reasonable. It's probably, no, the case of Panama, I mean, if they're charging American ships at some kind of a rate that they shouldn't be charging, well, that should be dealt with. But anyway, what do you think? What do you think about the fires?
Look, he did this in his first term. Everybody told us what a terrible thing he was doing about China, what a disaster it was, what a catastrophe it was. And yet, Biden has retained every single one of his tariffs and every single one of his policies.
Right.
Why? Because as outlandish as they sounded at the time, turns out they were really solid policy.
Right.
He did the deal with Mexico and he did the deal with Canada.
Yeah.
He revised NAFTA. Everybody says, oh, it was just papering over and just, window dressing. No, it wasn't. It was a serious deal. And it had a lot to do with the border. Well, Mexico reneged on the border, or, this Biden guy, this old man in the White House, just relaxed the whole, or just gave up on the point. But you mark my words, this is going to be a really, really, really tough deal for Mexico. I'm not buying Mexican stocks, I will tell you that.
Yeah.
And I'm not buying Canadian stocks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He is going to, hold a whip hand. And, Canada's in terrible travail. Mexico is not in great shape either. So I think he's going to, I think there's going to be a very, very big change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So you like it.
I do. I'm a convert. There's no,
Nothing like a convert. Yeah.
nothing like a convert.
Yeah, now that your cigarette smoking days are past, you're going to tell everybody on earth that they shouldn't smoke.
That's exactly right. By the
Exactly.
way, I did smoke up to the age of 21,
You
22.
smoked up to the age? Okay, all right, yeah. I smoked three cigarettes, two of them, all of them not all the way down. Yeah. I didn't
No,
like
I was a smoker in high school and I smoked all the way until 22. The day my daughter was born, I stopped.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Well, that was a good motivation. You're thanking your daughter all these years later.
I am, absolutely am.
Well, Larry, we had a very, very, very solid day in the market today after what looked like it wasn't necessarily going to go that way this morning. The consumer confidence numbers came in. Oh, the other ones, consumer sentiment numbers came in. University of Michigan. I think the University of Michigan consumer confidence people are corrupt.
What a shock that would be to my system.
The two numbers, the consumer confidence, the consumer,
In
they're going,
yeah.
they're like this. They're going opposite. I mean, it's like I can't understand. And their numbers, they were more confident while Biden was in office. And now that Trump's coming in, all of a sudden it drops by 12 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's not corrupt. It's, I mean, they're a lot. I mean, I wonder how rigorous their methodology is.
Well, we've seen what can happen with polling. We got the Iowa poll. She was highly revered as a great pollster, and all of a sudden it was corrupt. It was corrupted. She says no, but come on now, you don't. I've done a little bit of this kind of polling when I was in college because I was,
Yeah.
social psych major, and it doesn't take much to change the question a little bit or to change the makeup of the people that you're polling, or to throw out some bad stuff that isn't that bad because you got to throw out some of it.
Yeah, I listened to an interview of her. I just think she's corrupt.
Yeah, yeah, me
I mean,
too.
I hate to say it because she sounds like a nice person, but I think she's corrupt and she doesn't even realize it.
Possible. That's possible also. I think when I was doing some of these analyses in university, it made me as I'm doing them, and I got to get a grade, and my brain is thinking, well, these numbers are not coming out the way I need them to.
But
I
my
need,
professor expect, yeah.
and you're back and oh yeah, and I think every scientist is faced with that every time he does analysis.
Yeah, you just have to look at the polling that was done for this election and how every single channel, every single one of the news channels was so high that night. I watched, channel to channel to channel,
Yeah,
jumping the
yeah,
channels. They were so confident. It was
yeah.
a done deal. It was all over. And he's polling so well in Iowa, and we're doing so well in the early voting in Pennsylvania. I mean, they came out with she's double digits ahead in early voting in Pennsylvania. I mean, there was no way any of that, none of
Love it.
that was even close to the truth.
Right, right.
So I'm not going to believe, when Michigan suddenly turns upside down in sentiment. Nah.
So when I looked at the consumer sentiment numbers this morning and looked at the write-up, which I do every month, I read it in detail. In fact, I read it out loud on my channel. I'm thinking to myself, no, this is just not right. Well, the stock market dropped as soon as those consumer sentiments came
Numbers
out,
came out, yeah.
but all day long it recovered and recovered and recovered. I mean, the Dow ended up only 66, but it ended up up. The Nasdaq ended up 192, and it was down.
That's pretty good.
Yes, Tesla was down. It ended up 9.54, and as last time I checked, it's up $1.61 in the after hours. So I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like the headline hit again, knee-jerk reaction, and then everybody went, but wait a minute, how come it's so far off from the consumer confidence numbers? And they just kind of turned it into I think maybe that's not important.
You may be right.
That's once. Okay. All right. End of show. Turn off the. All right. Let's see here. We've got Larry. In addition to that, the Magnificent Seven did quite well today also, although all of them were down. I think it's maybe wasn't NVIDIA might have been up all day.
I'm liking NVIDIA at these
You
levels.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah, NVIDIA never went in the red today, and it's now up.
Yeah, we've got a while before NVIDIA earnings come out, but I'm feeling fairly bullish about NVIDIA.
Now, what's other than the fact that the market has responded after bottoming out, is it the oversold aspect that you're interested in, or is there some kind of fundamental in NVIDIA that's changing your mind?
I mean, I'm just seeing the excitement around the B200 chip is pretty high. I see orders are very strong. I'm seeing the technical reports coming out, sorry, not the technical reports, but the productivity reports
Oh, okay.
coming out are very strong. So and it's meandered at these levels. Of course, they're very high to start with, but
Yes.
I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
All right. Here's what I'm not liking, Larry, and I can't understand it, and I need you to help me understand it. Well, okay, at least it's down in the after hour or the pre-market. The 10-year bond is still sitting
I
at
know. I saw your note.
4.587,
Yeah.
even though it's down 1.2 in the pre-market. It's 4.587. What is this? What's it telling you?
I don't, it's telling me that we're wrong to think that things are just tickety boo. It's telling us there are limits. I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't know. It's really hard to fathom.
I mean, there's a bunch of reasons you can think of why it would be down. That would be foreign governments not buying as many. There could be just too much of it, too much. The treasury is putting too much of it on the market. And so you don't have enough
But
buyers.
that should impact the entire, the whole
Right.
board. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be limited, to the upper end of the board. But maybe everybody wants to be, in very short term because they're unsure of what the future is.
Yeah. Well, the uncertainty, the VIX came down. It's down back into the 16, 17 range again.
It is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you'd think if the bonds were uncertain, that the VIX would also be impacted because
Yeah.
same kind of player, the
Or maybe
conservative player.
maybe the reality is that the rate is just the short-term rate is just too high. And if it were to come down, that may have an impact.
Yeah.
I mean,
But again, you think the 10-year being at 4.5 would imply that the inflation is still around 3.
it certainly does.
Yeah. And inflation would be around 3. Everybody says, well, it's because of this or because of that, because of the other thing. Inflation would be around 3 because the government's spending too much money.
Well, the government spending a lot of money doesn't necessarily push up. I mean, it really is people spending money and or, the Federal Reserve pumping too much money into the system.
Yeah.
So
In the short term,
I suppose government expenditure is now such a large proportion of total expenses. Maybe maybe that's the reality. We've not had the government expenditure since the Second World War be such a large percentage of the GDP.
24%.
I know, I know. I
It's
think you have
crazy.
to go back to World War II times to see that again.
Okay, well, anyway, so there's where we are with the bonds.
Yeah.
The bonds are continuing to be crazy. It's hard to understand, but we'll see how that plays out over the next little bit. We've got oil, same, Larry, where it's been $69, 72 for Brent. No, I mean it's been right in that range. Natural gas,
I think it's going to fall dramatically under Trump.
I
Yeah.
think I think so too. Natural gas might also eventually fall, but right now it's
Not if Trump is able to force the Europeans to buy, because they're still buying more more
Russian
Russian gas than they were in the past.
at this point.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Gold, no change in the pre-market, sitting at 26, 20, 29. So very normal for what it's been. Silver struggling to say over 30, but it's still over 30, which is, pretty solid. Copper over $4. So all of these are kind of range bound over quite a few months now, actually. They've been
Yeah, but they range bound relatively high.
very high, yes. And Bitcoin down another 695, 94,412.
Maybe they're a good buy.
Maybe. Diamandis, however you pronounce his name, he thinks it'll be 250. He predicted that today. That was on his list.
He said it would be what?
250,000 this year, 2025.
That it's possible they could. It could be.
Pretty wild. All right, on the equities, not much movement. You got like Dow and the S&P are like flat. NASDAQ is almost flat, but it is down 0.16% or 35.50. So not really much action there. So Larry, that's where we are going into Christmas Eve. And tomorrow will be a short day in the market. Usually that means even more or even less trading, even less people involved. And today was a very light day. Any thoughts about the next couple of days in the market?
I wouldn't be buying long or selling short in the market in the next couple of days. Although I'm very tempted in NVIDIA. Very tempted to.
You would smarter to do it 2 days ago, Larry. What happened? You missed it.
I think I didn't expect much movement in the stock this early in the cycle. If there was going to be a movement, I would expect it closer to earnings. But yeah, I'm pretty bullish on their earnings this quarter.
So Larry, I was thinking about this today also. I think I put it up on a post somewhere. Tesla's not average, but let's say the bullish folks that are really paying attention think that Tesla will only double next year from where it is now. It's only going to go to 7,
Only
8,
double, yeah.
only double, and that's if
It's already at about like a 70 PE, but it'll only double, right?
it'll only double, and the only doubling would be without Robotaxi and Optimus. If you throw in a little Robotaxi and Optimus, it could more than double. So you look around at like NVIDIA and you say, okay, I want to invest in NVIDIA. Do you think there's any world in which NVIDIA doubles next year?
I doubt there's a world in which Tesla doubles next year, and I doubt there's a world in which NVIDIA doubles. I think that both are good stocks. I think both have a very, very strong long-term future, but I doubt whether either count is going to double next year.
Dan Ives has Tesla at 650 with a little bit of Robotaxi and no Optimus.
There isn't going to be Optimus next year, and there's not going to be very much Robotaxi next year. So 2025 is going to be, the launch year for these products. And we have to just get used to the fact that the launch year is a slow year in the auto industry.
Okay, so in the Optimus case, last issue, and we got to wrap it up. The Optimus gets revealed. They give you the specs. They do a fly through the factory showing all the Optimus working, and they give you how much they're going to sell it for or rent it for.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that, to me, that moves the market 200 points.
You may be right.
Now, 2 times in the same program, Larry, I have to stop. Thank you.
I mean, I didn't say that you are going to be
right.
I said you may be
Could
right.
Maybe.
There's an outside chance.
Larry, I take what I can get, All right, Larry, as always, thanks for coming on and batting it around with me. It's always fun. I hope everybody enjoyed it today. And we'll see you, of course, on Friday. And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.